He saw the mood of the England fans as he left. And you were there when we weren't. After Saturday night, England fans not happy going out to the French. But the overall theme of thought is optimism for the future. So I'm keen to find out where you are in this. Because if it's not going to be Southgate, who is it going to be? How hopeful or not are you, Dean, that Southgate will lead England into Euro 2024?
I think I would like to see him see out his contract and have that tournament. I thought we were going to beat France. I did. And ultimately, it's a penalty kick away, which the manager can't control, from taking it to extra time and possibly winning it or possibly not. But that's how small the margins are. I thought we were the better team in that game. He's answered a lot of critics in this tournament anyway, in terms of the style, which was heavily he was heavily criticised for being too negative, for 3 at the back, 2 holding midfield players. Well, that was scrapped for this tournament anyway, and it worked. And they were great to watch, and they scored lots of goals, and they didn't really concede many. So to me, there are so many good things about this tournament and leading up to this tournament, and the team feel like they're on the cusp of something.
But how long have you been saying that?
Exactly, I can't get past the fact that I look at Morocco, for example. I look at Croatia, and I think when it really comes to certain big games, they can get. Why can they do it? Why is it that they can do it and we can't against a team that are maybe ranked higher than us?
And it's that down to the coach.
I think it's a big part of the coach, and I think we lack ruthlessness. I would say is the one thing I would notice especially when I was there and seeing some of the games. I think ruthlessness against the best sides, doing the things that sometimes you have to do that might not be popular to get a victory. I think we maybe just lack that. I think he maybe doesn't show enough on the sidelines sometimes, and I don't see it from the players. Just that real, arrogance and ruthlessness that I think this team needs.
But even though if they lack that, should it not be time up then?
In people's minds,
because it's not working.
In people's minds, yes, but I can still see the progression. I feel like we are on the cusp of winning something. But he's only in 81 games. He's beaten Germany at the Euros, Belgium in the Nations League, Croatia in the Nations League, and Spain in the Nations League. They're the teams that I would say, out of the 81 games that he's had, that booked maybe the trend slightly of beating the top sides. That's it. And that is disappointing. I want to be a Croatia, I want to be a Morocco that beats a team that we shouldn't.
So how long should the FA wait for his decision?
Well, yeah, the FA should be taking a proactive approach to whether they want him to stay or not. It shouldn't just be, Gareth, it's your choice. You've done really well with us. You've been very, very successful. And he has, if you look at comparing him to other England managers, especially in tournament competition. But it shouldn't be up to him whether he stays.
But they've made the decision already, Dean, with the contract extension.
Well, yeah.
Well, exactly right. I mean, it does seem a ridiculous scenario that's being portrayed at this moment in time, that somehow everyone should be waiting for Gareth Southgate to determine what he's doing. He agreed a contract, and that contract is now in place. Now, whether he should have got that contract is highly debatable. You know my view on it. It's tournament-based contracts. You play a tournament. At the end of that tournament, if you've done well, you get another contract. If you haven't, out on your ear you go. I don't think he wins. I think if you look at that team, and you say to yourself, you've got the French now, you've got them in a really difficult position, and after you've scored the penalty, they're all over the place. There's something that a winner would do different. There's something that somebody that knows what... It's not about being ruthless, it's about making big decisions and making them for the right reasons. And the reasons were, what can we do? We're battering away at the French, we're not necessarily getting the outcomes that we want. Maybe we should change it up, load up, really load up and go for it now. We can win this game. We can win this game. It's 1-1. We can now win this game. What are we going to do to do it? And that's where our manager goes, I'm going to change. I'm going to load us up. I'm going to put even more offensive play into the game. I'm going to go after this game. That takes bravery. It takes commitment to the cause. It takes belief. And we know we had it on the bench to be able to do that. And what do? We change when an effect has happened. We then change. Now, I know that Danny Mills was ranting and raving here about the other day about the players warming up on the sidelines. It takes 10 minutes for a player to get warmed up. Then start warming them up for the 50th minute then, so that they're prepared for a change, which normally comes about the 60th, 65th minute of a game anyway, unless it's for different reasons. So you look at it and say, would a more experienced, a braver manager, a manager that knows what winning looks like? Gareth Southgate, in his professional career, never won anything. He played in decent sides at Crystal Palace. He played in decent sides at Aston Villa. He got selected to play for England. So you could say winning an England cap is an achievement in its own right. But there's a winning mentality behind an outcome. And an outcome has to be determined by decisions that are being made by those that are going to influence the destiny of those that are in front of them. So you look at it and say...
But should that matter, Simon? Sorry to interrupt you. Wenger never won anything when he was younger.
No.
Mourinho never won anything when he was younger.
No, granted. And but they did win something when they got into club level. He's never won anything in any level. So with the greatest respect in the world, his contribution to domestic football was to get Middlesbrough relegated and to leave them in the middle of the table in the Championship, or slightly higher than that when he left. And you look at it and say, the things he's done are commendable things, and they should be commended. But we are in the business of taking opportunities when they present themselves. And we've had 3 opportunities presented to us. We've had a Croatian semi-final when we were winning a game, and the outcome was that they were changing. We didn't change with them, and we didn't match their change or do anything about them until an effect had happened. We had the Italian situation in a home nations European Championship. Let's be honest about it. It was predominantly a home nations championship.
Of course.
We had control of the game. We let it drift away, and we waited until the Italians did something, and then we changed.
Yeah.
And here we are in a game now where it's to be won. What we're looking at is not the French side that we had in our mind's eye, not this French side that won the World Cup 4 years before, but a French side on the pitch that were actually getting beaten up by us. They were getting outplayed by us. Now, what are we going to do? What are you prepared to do to go and win that game? And to win that game required bravery from the coach. And nobody would have turned around and said, and if they did, they'd have been bloody mean-spirited. If he went out and go, right, I'm going to try and win this game now, and go balls out. And if somebody had turned around and gone, you're going balls out, cost us that game, then they would have been hypocrites.
Yeah.
Because they're accusing him of not having that propensity.
Because at least you went more for it.
And we'd have won.
Dean, whenever anyone said, no, I think it's time up for Gareth, the question would be, and Danny Mills fired it right at us the other day, all right, who'd you have? Who is there? Now, Richard Keys has got himself in a bit of a war of words with Jamie Carragher, because Keys was responding to a tweet from Carragher. The England manager should always be English. Richard Keys accused Carragher of being a borderline racist for thinking the England national team should always be managed by an Englishman. Should it? Are you in that camp?
I mean, I personally think when it comes to international football, it should be the best that your country has to offer. And I include coaches along with players.
Your country has to offer.
Yeah, because it's international football. It should be the best your country has to offer the international stage. That's, for me, what it should be.
So it should be English?
Personally, yes. But that's not to say that other countries that have used...
But you can't possibly say then, you can't round that argument to say that Gareth Southgate, when he got the job, was the best his country had to offer. He was the only one that the FA were prepared to consider because they wanted someone that came from in the confines of their establishment.
Well, I mean,
wasn't going to cause any problems for them.
He got in because of, obviously...
Because Sam Allardyce imploded and created a problem for himself. But the point is, he wasn't the best this country could have offered. They took Gareth Southgate because he was an FA man.
Yes.
So that kind of negates that argument. Surely it's got to be. In an ideal world, in a utopian world, you'd like to think that our coaches were the best that we could offer anyway. The fact is, our domestic Premier League is managed on the whole by everybody else but Englishmen, with a few exceptions. So that tells you where we are in the coaching world. So realism has to be deployed. If we don't have English coaches managing our England rugby team. We haven't had English coaches managing our English cricket team. It tells you something about this wonderful country that has sport at its centre, that everybody besides an Englishman seems to run our sports and win things with them. Okay, Eddie Jones got us to the World Cup final and didn't win, right? But won the Six Nations. And there's other coaches that won it as well. Brendan McCallum has come in to run an English cricket team, a New Zealander. And look at what we're doing with that sort of scenario. So my mind is, in an ideal world, if we've got the talent, bang, every day of the week, twice on Sunday, make them the England manager. But the reality is, I want that team winning. So I couldn't care less who manages the team, as long as they're the very best at what they do.
But you know something, Simon? Because it's Gareth Southgate, the likeable, popular Gareth.
With whom? The media?
No, not only that, with a whole bunch of England fans as well.
You're seeing the divide.
And with players, and with his own players.
But look at the divide before the tournament.
He was a winner, incidentally. He won 2 League Cups when he played.
Okay, fair enough.
But when you look at it, and you've got to cut him a bit of slack, and a Southgate supporter's got in touch with me. When you break it down on Saturday night, Dean, you were watching it. It was a 3-minute period. Giroud scored against the run of play. The substitutes were ready to come on, and there was a missed penalty by Kane.
And if Danny Mills is texting you in again, then we can run that story again. No, it's not Danny. So the bottom line is, yes, yeah, but it's Gareth. It's got
And this comes into play.
But nobody can
there is
like,
no
nobody
hard and fast, I should go now.
But nobody can dislike Gareth Southgate. You can disagree with some of the things he's said in the past, and I think he should have kept his nose out of certain things like taking the knee and so on and so forth. But that's a different discussion. He can keep the societal issues, and we can answer the allegation that England managers have to be diplomats if they choose to be. You don't have to be diplomats.
You're
if
just
they
on
choose
him
to be.
because he doesn't win when he should win.
I want to see an outcome. An outcome isn't turning up. And if you've had a World Cup semi-final and a European Championship final and a quarter-final, and all of them you could have won and you didn't, 3 strikes and you're out. You had your chance. Once, okay, you give him some forbearance. He was learning his trade. Second against the Italians, well, he's doing the same things. We're not changing when we need to. Third time round, slightly different, but a change was needed. We needed to go and win that game. And it wasn't just the case of France against a run of play. England were beginning to lose a little bit of potency, and the French, for about a 5-minute period, up until Giroud missed a sitter, were beginning to get themselves back into the game and beginning to re-establish themselves. And a braver manager, a man that has winning in his DNA and knows what it looks like and feels like, and okay, I can see the point about League Cups, right? But the point is this, is that Southgate has had ample time, 2/3 of a decade. Yes, it's wonderful that common sense has prevailed, and look back at some of these idiot England managers and go, what in God's name were you doing? What in God's name were you doing, Capello, that created such division in the camp? It shouldn't be that low-hanging fruit is rewarded as excellence. Being able to get on with the media shouldn't be something that an England manager shouldn't be capable of doing. The guys that couldn't do it, you've got to look at them and go, how stupid must have you been? And what we're saying is, because those common sense things have come to the fore, that all of a sudden everything else gets a pass. It doesn't. We've got a generation of players on that pitch that should be able to win a tournament. And I guarantee you we'll go to Germany if Southgate's in charge and we'll perform admirably. But we won't be coming back with the European Championship.
Is he right?
Not necessarily. I wouldn't put it past them to go to Germany and win it. I wouldn't, because I think as a group, as a group of players, the experience that they've now got, I think they're capable of it. But it's hard to argue with the facts of he hasn't been able to get over the line with great opportunities. And I do agree with Simon in terms of I don't feel like the changes were soon enough or the right ones.
And
at
yet
the time.
you're in the camp, and many of you are. Give him another tilt.
Well, because I've been there when it's been horrendous and poor and disappointing and felt very low. And Simon's obviously talked about the fact that, well, it should be the norm to have this, but it wasn't. Now it is. I like the look of it. It's now just that last hurdle of.
But it was a very happy
something.
camp in 2002. It was slightly indisciplined, and it was slightly centred on ridiculous societal aspects like wags and that culture. But in 2002, when England got knocked out in the quarterfinals by Brazil, a very good Brazilian side that went on to win the World Cup, you came away from that tournament thinking English football was in good nick. Okay, we got some of the crap around it. We don't need to talk about David Beckham's hairstyle every day of the week and which person's going out with which person. But we saw our football at that time. And then, of course, the progression that we look for, the succession programmes, we put McLaren in charge. And things start to go off the rails from then. You know, but the bottom line is I think Gareth has done a lot of statesman-like stuff. And I get that. And I agree that it's part, seemingly, of England manager's job. But for the love of God, we're a nation that's spawned the Premier League. We haven't won anything since 1966. It should be an embarrassment. We keep going to these tournaments with fans that sometimes let us down, but most of the time, fans that are so committed to the sport in this country being given so little to watch.
Yeah.